build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20-plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
To another episode of Over the Boards. I'm your host, Hailey Parker, and I'm here with head coach of the Ice Pack, Tim Healy. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great, Hailey. First of all, it's great to be back in North Carolina after our sojourn up north, and great to be here with you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, last episode, very sad, but also excited. Just a reminder that we are sponsored by Moe's, so if you guys want to give them a call, you can call them at 919-999-399 or give them a call at 919.catering.moes.com. All right, so talking a lot about nationals today. So let's jump right in. First, I'm going to start off with game one where the Ice Pack played Providence. And just for me personally, just automatically watching it, there was a lot of momentum that happened right off the bat in the game. I mean, Riley Johnson scored 54 seconds in. So what do you think contributed to this quick momentum? Was it maybe just the excitement of being at nationals? What do you think that – and it continued throughout the rest of the game too as well.
Yeah, I think what's awesome was obviously the way we started, but if you even go back just the way we prepared, experience played a factor in it. When we went to nationals 2 years ago, that practice the night before was not great. Last week, it was one of our best practices of the year. We were flying, almost had to slow them down a little bit. And what was great to see was the day didn't go without some travel drama, actually, because we had to go in on 2 planes. The larger group in Denver had to actually have the baggage on the plane, load it and unload it 3 times to get the balance correct. They're running into the rink to get onto the ice for practice, and we actually had Dave Doran speaking via Zoom to him before the start of the game. But, they just handled it all really well. Leadership of Cam Mazakowski in that last practice. So it really started there. I think the other thing, too, when you go into a first game is you know who your opponent is for a while. So we were able to do a lot of pre-scouting on them. So it didn't feel like a team we had never seen before. Everything that they almost done, we had seen it, we had planned it. Incidentally, they'd also watched a lot of tape on us. They actually said your broadcasting crew and your broadcast does a great job, so credit to you guys. But when I saw their coach the night before, I knew that they had done that the same thing that we had done. So I think that pre-scouting, the guys were focused. And obviously when you get off to a great start, it was obviously Riley off a set piece, off a face-off. And then Colby Peterson, who I knew Colby was going to have a big tournament. It was the healthiest he'd been all year, and that was a beautiful breakaway that he finished. And the other great thing about that game, too, was the resiliency that we'd showed in it. Every time they scored, we answered right back. And Daniel played, really well in goal. It was just a really good team effort. And Providence, a lot of people consider Providence being the hottest team coming in. Some people look at their record, but I think they were like 7 or 6-1 against teams not called the University of Mary. And they'd beaten them on the come. I had someone text me, Providence probably favored by 2 or 3 goals. And there it was. We were up 2 goals right at the start. So, that great start was key, and the experience of being there before was key.
Absolutely, and you just kind of mentioned Colby Peterson, so that was what I wanted to bring up next. He scored about 7 seconds later. When I was watching the game, the commentators kept saying, Tim Healy told us that he was, primed for a big national tournament. What did you say? What did you think about that, and why were you telling people that about him?
Well, first of all, Colby's a great player.
Yeah.
And when you look at the stats that Colby had this year, he had a bad ankle sprain against Liberty in the fall. I mean, really bad. And he wasn't on the ice for a while. And then he started getting on the ice, and then he had a contact tracing situation where he wasn't on the ice, and then ended up getting COVID due to that contact tracing. So, now you're talking almost 3 weeks he's off the ice there. And so it had been the longest continuous time he had been on the ice this year. And then you put him with Solomon and Miller in that line. We used him against Virginia Tech, and we saw some success there. But now we're a month later, and they just had more time to gel. So you just saw that one coming together a mile away.
Yeah, so Providence scored right before the end of the first period, but then Chris Solomon, of course, came and scored again to make it 3-1 going into the second period. I know we touched on this a little bit when we talked after the game, but how important was it for the Ice Pack to be up going into the second period to almost make Providence, chase them to get points on the
Yeah,
board?
that goal, and you talk about responding each time they scored. That
Yes.
goal was huge because Providence had cut the lead to 2-1, and why we carried the play most of the first period. You're a coach, and if you're down 2-0 and you're kind of getting worked a little bit, if you go into the period down 2-1, it gives you a chance to hit the reset button. But by answering right back with Solo there, and I can't remember if that was a solo goal that he batted out of the air, but it really gave us an opportunity to still hold. Seize any momentum that they had gotten by getting it back to a one-goal game, and instead we were able to actually hit the reset button after their little flurry there.
And then also a great point to bring up is Eric Daniel in goal. I mean, he did a fantastic job. So what was kind of your thought process picking a goalie for each game this weekend, and why him for Providence?
Well, it wasn't easy, right?
Yeah.
We have and Cannon's a great goalie, but kind of take him out of the equation because of the broken finger. But between Griffin Daniel, we felt that we needed to play both to be successful at nationals, primarily because. To win it, you're looking at 5 games in 6 days. We just felt that Daniel, with the way that Providence played, and Daniel's a big goalie, Providence is a pretty direct team, and so we felt that was probably the little bit better matchup there. We have the luxury of playing matchups, and that's what it came down to. We felt that Daniel gave us a little bit better matchup, and the focus coming into it too. He had been really focused in the last week of practice.
Well, the second and third period involved goals from Johnson. Solomon had a couple more, so you guys ended up winning that game 6-4. So great game. Kind of moves us on to game 2, where the Ice Pack played Davenport. And it kind of started off to a slower pace than Providence, I would say. The pace kind of picked up when Devin Halco scored, and it was his first goal of the season, so that was, exciting to see as a fan. Was a goal up on the board from Halco kind of what you think the guys needed to bring that momentum from the night before?
Yeah, that was huge. And,
Yeah.
we actually, even the night before, started to see Halco engage more offensively. And I can't remember who said it on the D end of the bench. It might have been Hugo. Said Halco's going to score this game. And then he scored a power play goal and a really nice snipe right off. And so that got us feeling good. And if we looked a little bit slower against Providence, I think, on tournaments like this, day 2 is where sometimes it catches up with you, the travel. You have the momentum and the energy in day 1, adrenaline's going. And credit to Davenport, too. They really played hard. They did a great job of slowing us down. They were a completely misseeded team, too. They're a team that went to nationals, had qualified for nationals last year. There wasn't any nationals. And they did, they executed a great game plan. Their goalie was great. But yeah, Halco getting us that lead first helped us settle in it and feel pretty good about ourselves.
And then Ricky Frosch and Riley Johnson both had goals scored, and we tried to talk about this a little bit after the game as well, but bad connection because, Bismarck. But at this point in the game...
That might be the saying coming out of there.
At this point in the game, what do you think it says about the strength of your roster that 2 out of 3 goals so far were scored from people on defense?
Well, one of the things we try to get our D talking about doing is hunting down. So there are 2 things on that play. The first thing is Alex Fong, who went up and centered that second line when Parker got knocked out with an AC injury. Fong did a great job of keeping that line going. And on that shift, we probably kept it in their zone for over a minute, and there were some great plays by Fong to keep it down low. And he actually changes, and I can't remember if it was Miller that delivered the pass out of the corner. I think it was Miller. And it was such a pinpoint pass to Ricky hunting down. And that's something we talk to our D. If you see them getting puck eyes in the corner and tired and you got a lane, hunt down to that back post. And he did a great job with it, a great finish. I was really happy for him. And that's something we've spoken about all year, was trying to get some more balanced scoring. At that point, we have 2 lines scoring because Riley's line was scoring. We'd gotten the defense involved. We talked about Colby and Solo scoring. So that was a great sign for us.
Absolutely. The end of the third period was really kind of what the Ice Pack needed. There was a goal from Chris Solomon and Colby Peterson. So you guys get a win of 5-3. As discussed last time, you kind of talked about how Davenport was almost a little underrated. They were a very competitive team. Did you feel like that you saw that from them going into the game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they hung with us. And, they're a championship caliber club. And what I mean by that is their makeup and their DNA and their team culture, that they weren't going to give up. They were going to battle right to the end. And, obviously, again, on the winning goal, Colby does a good job of getting it to net. And Solomon, he'll actually joke and say he didn't get good wood on that shot, but sometimes it's just enough. And then Peterson closing it out on I think one of the greatest empty net goals you're ever going to see. He's on the boards in front of our bench, and he wasn't trying to score. He hits it off our boards to try and get it in, and so we can get a change. And basically, it was a pull shot. He put it off the boards, and we're all standing, Davenport included, because no one's really near it and no one's going to catch it. It's either going to be an icing, and that's what we thought. And all of a sudden, it gets to the top of the circle, and the ref, the players, all of us are like, that's going to go in. And it goes against the line, across the line, and the rest is history. So obviously feeling pretty good after that.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, how does having a 2-0 start in the national tournament kind of help you guys moving forward?
Well, if I think back to that second night last go around, even though we were 1-1, just by way of matchups and tiebreakers, we were eliminated. So, we go into that night, and not only are we still alive, we're 2-0. We're tied at top of the pool with Mary. And, the thing about it is it set up a pool play championship game. Mm-hmm. And what was actually really cool about the tournament this year was all the 1 and 2 seeds, when they were playing on that Saturday, every single game was a pool play championship game. So that brought a lot of energy to the building, and it was exciting. But it was also a night game, so it was a long time to kind of sit around. The players handled that probably better than the coaches. I actually had to close the computer screen, get away from the video, and take a drive up the Missouri River for a little bit that day. But it set up for, we set ourselves up well. Team felt confident. Team felt really good. Going into the next day.
So what did you guys kind of do during that time in between? Because the Davenport game was kind of a afternoon game, and then Mary wasn't all the way until the next day.
Yeah,
at night.
an odd thing this year is we kind of played at all times. We played afternoon games. We played even though we didn't play many games, so we were pretty prepared for that one. And I think the guys actually needed to sleep in a little bit, so I think that was good. But that night, and this is worth mentioning, Brandon Zent and Jocelyn Zent, Brandon's class of 03 out of NC State. He's from Bismarck in North Dakota, came down here for college, he's back up there, working in the energy industry. And as hosts, they could not have been better. And so we actually had a community center by us. They had rented it out, had a lasagna dinner for our team, and our parents too, and his, and his parents as well. So it was a good family theme night, which I think, was good for the boys. Yeah. Get out, be with each other. Great meal. It was perfect in terms of preparation the night before. And I just want to say thank you to the Zent family for everything they did while we were up there. Then going the next day, we did a little pre-scout, a little bit of video breakdown, because I wanted them to get feeling very similar to how we felt with Providence. Anything that they saw that night that they would have seen before.
Absolutely. Well, next we'll be talking about the game that I think a lot of people were kind of anticipating a little bit, including you on the team. But before we talk about the third game, we're going to take a quick break here, so we'll be right back with some more Over the Boards content.
Welcome to the
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
And welcome back to the next half of Over the Boards. I'm your host, Hailey Parker, here with Tim Healy of the Ice Pack. Game 3, Ice Pack versus Mary. Let's get down to it. I know that we had kind of talked about this in our last episode, how it wasn't the type of game that you wanted to look forward to as much, just because of the weight, playing a number one team can kind of carry. Plus, you were playing the number one team in the nation, former national champion, at their home rink. But overall, it was a very competitive game. So first off, I think that there's a lot to say kind of about penalties, stuff like that from the refs. So do you think that the missed calls and stuff that were they frustrating for the Ice Pack, or was it one of those things where you just have to move on and play?
Well, a lot of times it is move on and play, and you have to move on and play. Backing up for a second, I think we were fine with getting Mary in the pool play championship game. It was quite clear to everyone involved with ACHA Division II that to win the title, you were going to need to knock out Mary. So from our standpoint, playing Mary in Game 3 of the pool play was almost the ideal place to play them, and here's why. Giving us a couple games to get used to the arena, being that it was their arena, get comfortable with it. We knew it was going to be a night game after a day game, so we'd have some more rest. And then if you win that game, you actually have a day off before your semifinal. And we knew it was a game that would take a lot of mental energy out of us. And so if you win that game, you get the day off to recoup and go about it. So, from that standpoint, sure, let's bring them on right then and there. And I like the way we're playing. The questions about the refs, that's a loaded question. And I think anyone that watched that game speaks for itself. There were people that don't even have a dog in the fight. That if you go on Twitter sphere, where what is this that we're watching?
Yeah.
I don't like to be critical of the refs,
Right.
but I am going to be here because I do think the number one job of officials is to protect the players, and they didn't do that in this game. They failed, and they failed on a couple other accounts too. You look at the goal that Eric Daniel had covered. So if you go to their first goal, Colby Peterson took a holding call. No problem with that. They score in the power play. Their second goal, they actually do the same thing to Colby, and that allows the puck to be picked up and they go on and score. So, where's the consistency? The third goal is obviously the one that Eric had covered. Honestly, one of the most atrocious calls I've ever seen, and the explanation was even worse in that, he didn't see it. Well, if you don't see it, you've lost sight of the puck and you blow it dead. We knew it was going to be a hometown crowd, but we didn't expect, that much of a hometown. One particular ref who actually even saw fraternizing with their parents after the game. So that was, at some point you got to call it the way you see it, and that's the reality of it. The other reality is we were going to need things to go probably really perfectly to beat Mary in that game. They're home. It was treated as a home game. They're a really good team, and things just didn't go our way. We talked about the officials, but we were without four of our top 8 forwards by the end of the second period, and we'd even had Garrett Arini out for a bit. So that's tough to come back. And you can say, all right, well, they called 2 majors, but that was after the game was already in hand, right? And at that point, I don't really have many guys left to run the power play. So, we're down 3 of our top 4 centers. I think it's a tough loss to take because by any objective standard, just on the calls alone, forget about the stuff on the cheap shots. And you go back to it, you take 2 goals off the board right off the top. Yeah. And that's a 3-1 game. Now, with the injuries that we had, do we come back and win that? Who knows? But we certainly, kind of robbed us of the chance of doing that. So I do think, why the first 2 games were a great experience. I think the third game with our players, kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. And, what that means for next year, I think the one thing in the last 2 years and now 3 years of this run, we've never really been a team that had a chip on our shoulder. 2 years ago, we were the happy-go-lucky team where this came out of. Last year, it was like, okay, let's run this and do it again. This year was, the whole motto for this year could have been survive and advance. Not just the teams you're playing, but survive and advance, so you don't get taken off the ice with COVID. Yeah. I suspect next year this is going to be a team that has more of a chip on their shoulder, and we haven't seen that before. So we'll see how that goes. One thing I do, and I cannot understate this enough. A lot of teams would have retaliated and got into fights in that game. We never did. We kept playing hockey, kept trying to score. Couldn't have been more proud of the way they handled themselves on the ice right to that final whistle. So they had nothing to hang their heads about. And again, we were actually one of the 2 teams to score. Alex Robinson just with a gorgeous goal on their goalie. So nothing to hang their heads about and how they conducted themselves on the ice that evening.
And you brought up the injuries. I know that Eric Todd and Matt Miller were both deemed unfit to play for the rest of the game. Do you think that kind of put a damper on things, or do you think that maybe things could have been different if they weren't injured?
Absolutely, and we lost Colby too, re-aggravating a sprained ankle. And I don't know if it's on the holding where he got dragged down on the second goal or not, but you're without Colby, you're without Miller, so that's 2 of your first 3-line guys. Parker Cesaric was dressed. In theory, he could have played, could have killed some penalties for us. But with the way his shoulder injury was, I didn't feel comfortable putting him out there because, again, I didn't feel if the reps were going to protect him, and he wasn't in 100% place to protect himself. So that would have been unfair to put him out there. Yeah. So again, now you're down 3 centers in Colby, and that's a long haul to try and win that game.
Next, I just wanted to talk about the experience of Nationals as a whole. What was the experience like for you as a coach and the team? Do you think that, it was something that they could definitely learn from?
Yeah, I think experience-wise, and I think we're all in this because it's still kind of raw. Like, we have to kind of get over dwelling on that last game a little bit. Not so much that you forget about it, right?
Yeah.
But, I think they need to draw on the experience of particularly how they played in those first 2 games. Draw that they did, from it that for Mary, long stretches of the game, we did go to toe with them. And, asking the questions of now, how do we climb that last mountain, which is really the highest mountain now, to go from a team that's in the talk and making noise at nationals to bring home nationals. That's that next mountain to climb.
Yeah. So definitely using this to motivate them for next year. Next, I wanted to bring up kind of the rise of the program, because certainly it's something that I feel like, especially through fundraising, you guys realized how many people really supported you, and a lot of people want to root for the Ice Pack. You mentioned several times that this team this year was a lot better than in the past. They were more competitive and they were more fit to win. So just the fact that this team went to nationals, especially during COVID, and considering all the things that all the teams went through this year, that was certainly significant. So do you think that the Ice Pack needs to be in the conversation now to be a legit national championship, or do you think people will just say that you guys ended up there because of COVID and other teams not being able to play?
Yeah, we took advantage of opportunities, right?
Yes.
Like, because of no regionals, we were able to plan and prepare better for a team, say, like Providence. But you can't question us being there on that stage. And here's what I mean by that. If you look at our 7 losses, which is actually more than we've had the last couple of years, but none of our losses came outside of teams that either went to the Final Four or got knocked out before they got to the Final Four by one of those other teams. And what I mean by that, Liberty Division I went to the Division I Final Four. Mary won it. Liberty Division II went to the Final Four and lost to Mary. FGCU lost to Liberty in essentially an Elite 8 game and a pool play championship game. So our losses only came out of that core. Again, a national champion, a Final Four team in D1, the 2-time defending champion. So, and then if you look at our wins, 8 of our wins came against teams that were national bound too. So it was a tremendous strength of schedule. That's only going to, so I mean, I don't think you can cheapen the season at all. And also the discipline to keep going with the season too. Every team we played against, Providence again qualified for nationals last year. Mary qualified for nationals last year. Davenport qualified for nationals last year, and a normal non-COVID year. Those are the 3 teams in our pool. And by the way, those are 3 teams that are fully funded as part of their varsity athletic department too, that we're going toe-to-toe with. So I don't think you can minimize the accomplishments of this team whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. And do you think that, assuming that next year, hopefully, things will be back to normal and they'll have a more normal schedule, playing more of the normal teams, that'll almost motivate them more to get to nationals because it'll, be more normal, more that of the competition that they're used to?
I had a Jesuit professor who was fond of saying, once you know, you can never not know. Yeah. There's to you, Father Regan. So anyway, now we know, so we can never not know.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is there is no going back to normal. right? We return 10 of our top 12 forwards. We return 5 of our 8D. We return all of our goalies. So there's no, sorry, phone there. So there's no going back. Again, once you know, you can never not know. And what that even means by our schedule too, so you're going to see even an increased out of conference schedule.
Yeah.
And, there's some teams that we've probably played in the past that aren't going to be on it. But I am looking forward to some of the ACCHL stuff. I think Rich down at Wilmington is doing a great job. Can't wait to have them on the schedule and building here. So looking forward to that as well. But again, yeah, once you know, you can never not know. And that's kind of where we are. So there is no going back to normal.
I love that. I think that's a good saying to kind of keep in everyone's minds. So just moving on to what's next for the team, how do you manage off-ice things differently, schedule differently? What is the big picture result out of all of this, and what does it mean going forward?
I think there's a couple things. I think not going to regionals this year helped us prepare for nationals, and the way the ACCHL works, if you get a top 2 ranking in your region, you don't have to go through the regional play, and that's always going to be competitive in our region with Florida Gulf Coast, Liberty. Those were the 2 buys if you were to nationals. You have Penn State, you have Rowan, you have Cincinnati. Cincinnati was 3 last year. We were 4, even though we got upset. So putting together a schedule that can potentially get you into that top 2 spot, and we feel that we've got ourselves into that setting now with what we have on the board for next year. So I think that's going to be huge for us. Plus, playing the traditional ACCHL rivals. We are a proud member of the ACCHL. We're going through it for our 4th in a row next year. And I think there's even going to be a chip on that, too, because I think some people want to minimize the accomplishments of this year. Yeah. Sure, it wasn't a true tournament, but I think if you win it the year before and you win it this year, you've backed it up, and then no one can really say anything about it.
Agreed. So just as far as the team, are they kind of off until the summer, or do you guys do summer workouts? What's that going to look like for them?
Right now, obviously, they got to get back, and they got to get in finals and get ready to graduate and the like. So that's one right now. They need to be students. Yeah. Once that gets, we'll do some summer skates. Guys that want to try out for next year are welcome at those as well. Get workout groups going over the summer. September 17th will be here faster than you know, and I think part of the chip on their shoulder is even towards UNC and, some of the things they had to say after the ACCHL. So that's, hopefully they can carry that chip on their shoulder into the summer.
Hopefully. Well, last, I would say, just wanted everyone to know that we did talk about pizza, and not only did we talk about pizza, we tasted the pizza today before this. So you're probably the biggest pizza connoisseur I've ever met in my life. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how was the slice of pizza?
I don't want to disparage a slice of pizza. That was a good college. That's a high-end college pizza, that we got there. By Kingston, New York standards, probably middle of the pack in Kingston. Yeah. But for a college pizza place, it's a great slice of pizza. So no complaints there. Thanks, BJ, for getting it for us.
Yeah, he sent us a YouTube video. It was about all the pizza from where he's from. So we got a good rundown of his pizza obsession.
There we go.
All right. Well, that is all that I had for you today. But I just want to say that the pleasure's been all mine being able to talk to you this semester, kind of get the fans, scoop on ice pack hockey. But we will be back next season. Yeah. So
Hailey, thank you. Thanks everybody, the crew at PackTV. We couldn't get where we are without you all. I mean, you've been, you were treating us big before we got big. So, and we, so again, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will see you guys next time on another episode of Over the Boards. Just a reminder that we are sponsored by Moe's. So if you want to give them a call at 919-999-399 or visit them at 919.catering.moes.com. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Hailey. Go Pack.
Go Pack.
Welcome to the Moe's!
build it, you demolish it. The legendary homewrecker burrito. Come build yours today with 20 plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.